So I haven't been here for the past couple weeks, and I had a very dear friend of mine pass away. And I have been so held by this community through this time. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because what's been sustaining me is the power of yes. The power to believe and to know and to live into this idea that spiritual principle, that these beautiful divine ideas of love and grace and joy and beauty and harmony and strength are always present. That's what we're saying yes to in unity teaching when we say yes. We're saying yes to the idea that spiritual principle is, God is. Now, we don't understand God as an anthropomorphic being. We understand God as principle in action, showing up in time and in space. And it's really like that song is so great, right? It's so fun. It's like, oh, say yes to all these opportunities. And yet the power of yes for me is the most precious and the most life-saving in those moments where we're broken open, in those moments where our heart is breaking, in those moments where the human experience is so deep and so strong and so heartbreaking that we can feel like we're going to get pulled under by it. Has anybody in here ever felt like that? And this teaching, this idea of the power of saying yes to something that is greater than what is just showing up in time and in space, is the teaching that literally saved my life when I found this teaching 15 years ago. And it is the teaching that has enabled me to truly be present with myself, with my friend Joe, with everything that has been unearthed and exposed and showing up for me in this process. And through it all, I had my moments, right? We say yes. I've been in this teaching for a long time, folks. I live, breathe, and love affirmative prayer. And yet I had my moment, even in the power, knowing the power of possibility that is always available to us. I had my moments, particularly of the last couple weeks, of yes, but. Not yes and, but yes, but. There's an improv game that is fundamental to teaching acting, right? It's a fundamental game, and it's literally called Yes and. And the way the game works is you get up there and you have to say yes and to anything that's appearing on that stage with you, right? Whatever the people that are up there with you suggest, let's go dancing, yes, and let's wear a tiara at the same time, yes, and, right? Everything is additive. And let me tell you, every time you don't say yes and, you get tagged out. And someone else gets a chance to jump in. And when people first start, you think, well, it's easy to say yes and. Those yes buts slip in all the time. So part of my invitation to you today is, where are you saying yes, but? Yes, but it has to look a certain way. Yes, but only if it shows up like this. Yes, but I have to get X, Y, Z, right? Where are you putting limitations, human limitations? I really want to be clear about that. You're placing your human understanding on something that is completely infinite and expansive. So the idea, the hope, the prayer, the thing that unity is founded upon is this understanding of affirmation, the affirming of the truth of who we are. Now, how many people in here are familiar with affirmations? Yes, right? We have been so successful in our teaching of affirmations that the entire culture has absorbed them. Most people don't know that they come out of Unity and New Thought teaching, but that is where they arose from, is out of what we understand to be the foundational pieces. Now, we have those moments where we forget. The way I was navigating my grief, and I'd get lost in the grief and I would forget. And I literally could feel the prayer chaplains holding me. I literally could feel the consciousness that the prayer chaplains were anchoring for me because I couldn't anchor it for myself. Not really. We don't have to do this alone. That's the beauty of it. We're not in this process alone. So this got sent to me by one of our prayer chaplains, and I just loved this, right? This is why we pray for each other. So the pole is our spiritual principle. It is the thing that we know, that we hold on to, that we choose to have be the foundation, the thing that is rock solid for us. And the ground is life, changeable, mutable. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it drops out underneath us, sometimes it's rising up and we're working that climb. And through it all, when we are anchored in community, the moments where we forget, we get to be carried by others. And then we pick it back up again so that in their moment of forgetting, they are being held and carried by others. The energy that you walk into here at Unity San Francisco, that people talk about, the energy here, we hear that a lot, Ken and I, right? The energy here is so amazing. Do you know where that energy comes from? This community's consciousness. This community's willingness to step into the affirmation of spiritual principle. And when we do that, we lift each other up. We support each other in this process. Now, affirmations seem to be kind of pretty simple and straightforward. Now, there are lots of affirmations out there. Not all of them are transformative. I want to be really clear about that, right? There's lots of affirmations out there, and not all of them are actually transformative. In order for an affirmation to be transformative, the first thing is it has to be a positive statement of truth. So this is right here is where we're anchoring spiritual principle. What is it that we know? What is it that we understand as being true? So in a lot of ways, this is where we're recognizing that there is something that is back of all. What is that? Is it love? Is it grace? Is it joy? Is it harmony? Is it beauty? What is that statement, the truth that you are going to stand in for yourself? It has to be in the first person. The only place that this affirmation is working is within you. It's not magic. It's not affecting, it's affecting you, your consciousness. And as you change and shift your consciousness, what we know and believe in Unity is there's only one consciousness actually happening. So when you shift your consciousness, everywhere that consciousness is shifted. Can you feel the truth of that? So we start right here. So it's in the first person. It's I statements. I. Usually it's an I am statement because it also needs to be in the present tense. And this, honestly, is where I see affirmations start to get wobbly. I will, right? Not I am. I am healthy. I will feel better. Well, when's that going to happen? It's not happening right now in that statement. It's happening down in the future somewhere. So it's a present tense awareness because what we know is that there is no time and space in the divine. So it is only happening right here and right now. There is nothing else except this moment. So it's always a present tense statement. This is another piece where they stop being transformative. It's about you're using an affirmation to meet something that feels limiting. You are applying a tool to meet a limiting belief. So if what I was feeling with my friend Joe making his transition was a sense of deep, profound loss, just missing, right? Deep and profound loss. So the spiritual truth of this is that there is nothing that can ever be lost. The spiritual truth of this is that there's only one thing happening. There's only one activity happening. One thing, really. So for me, requalifying that limiting belief, that limiting sense that I have lost him, asked me to say, I know that Joe is right here with me right now. And he is. Because I feel it in my consciousness, and that's where the transformation happens. It's not happening anywhere else except within me. So the point of an affirmation is to meet and requalify, rewrite, re-understand, transform some sort of limiting belief that you have about your prosperity, about your health, about your wholeness, about your wealth, all of those things. And then the last piece is it has to feel authentic. And this is the piece that if it doesn't really line up, what you end up doing is taking pretty fancy frosting and laying it on top of something that's moldy and stale. If you don't actually align with what's really going on within you, it has to feel authentic to you. So some of the generic affirmations that are out there, I am as spry as a 20-year-old. That really doesn't feel authentic to me, right? Like if I'm being really honest, it's an affirmation, it's in the present tense, it requalifies a limiting belief, right? But does it actually feel authentic to me? No, right? Now, how could I shift that to something that actually feels transformative for me? That within me is the energy of a 20-year-old. I am energized. I am lit from within like when I was 20. I could say that and really mean that. Thank you. You can look in the mirror all you want and say, I love my body, I love my body, I love my body. But if you don't really love your body, there is nothing changing. You're not shifting anything. You have to find a way in to something that truly feels authentic. I love the way I look in this blouse. I love that I can fit into my new pair of jeans. Right? You have to find something that feels truthful. Can you feel how that lifts you up? Rather than pretending that I'm supposed to fix something that's wrong with me. Affirmations are not about fixing something that's wrong with you. Affirmations are about meeting yourself in love. It's about meeting yourself and lifting yourself up. It's not about trying to beat yourself down. So what we're doing with affirmative prayer is we're basically taking affirmations and we're stringing them all together. So if one affirmation is really powerful, imagine how powerful 3 minutes of affirmations are. That is part of the transformative power of affirmative prayer. Now, I'm calling the class the art and craft of affirmative prayer because it does work in 2 different ways. There is a craft involved. There are steps involved. If you take the class, you'll get to see the steps. There are steps involved. There is a process that we invite you into. Did you guys like how I did that? Okay. There is a process that we invite you into. Now that process, the same way for affirmations, there was a structure, right? There's a structure. That's the craft of it. But ultimately, in order to truly be transformative, is you need to have enough of the craft that you can then make it your own. That you can truly own it, and that's the art of it. No two affirmative prayers are going to sound the same, ever. Isn't that awesome? That's what I love about this process. Your prayer, my prayer, nothing, they're never going to sound alike. That to me is a miracle, right? A miracle of just how individualized and magnificent each of us is with our gifts and our talents. So Charles Fillmore has this quote, which I tweaked just a bit because he says man consciousness, so I made that human consciousness. Affirmative prayer is the most highly accelerated mind action known. Human consciousness synchronizes with Christ mind. Right? Now that's a mental plane, and that can feel like craft sometimes, when it's just living in the head. The invitation that this class is going to be about, and that everything Linda and I have been working on, is about how do you actually embody it? How do you actually live it? Because I can honestly tell you that it is the most powerful process of transformation that I personally have ever experienced, honestly. Over and over and over again, I come back to the process of affirmative prayer, and I am meeting myself wherever I am. And sometimes that's brokenhearted in tears, and sometimes that is me jumping out of my seat with joy and enthusiasm and zeal. And each time I meet myself, I am offered an opportunity to do these 4 things for myself. This is what affirmative prayer does. You anchor spiritual truth. That is what you're doing. It's the first thing you do. You anchor spiritual truth. Whatever it is that you understand spiritual truth to be right now, you start from there. You also take a class so that you can deepen your understanding of spiritual truth and have more to play with. You see how I did that again? Then you have to align yourself with that truth. This is what makes affirmative prayer so powerful. So we're out there and we see, you know, love is, right? You've seen beauty out there. You've seen joy out there, right? All you have to do is watch a bunch of puppies running around together and you know what joy looks like. You have to align that with yourself. You have to own that as your joy. You have to own that you are that as well. And when we start to do that, what happens is we begin to shift our understanding. We shift our understanding of who we are, of who the world is. We shift our understanding of what is possible in our own life. Because we're essentially taking off the human limitations. And we are allowing a divine awareness, which each of us has access to. Each of us has it available to us, through us, for us, as us. We are activating that in our own consciousness. Prayer happens where? In your consciousness. That is where it is happening. And as we shift our understanding, what happens is we can transform the experience out here because we literally have been changed. So, and I'm not going to lie to you. So there's no wrong way to pray. There are certainly days when all I have been able to do is say, God, help me. And it's a very outside God. It's a very not God right here because that's just not what I was feeling. And there is nothing wrong with that prayer. Nothing at all. And yet, we have something available to us in unity. We have something, a technology, because it is a technology, available to us that when we access it, our entire life can be literally transformed. We are able to let go of old patterns and old understandings. We are able to step into something that is new. We get to reveal the divinity that we are more fully and more powerfully. And it's a process. It's not like you do affirmative prayer once and then you're done. It's about engaging with this process of understanding who you truly are, what your divine nature is. And you're infinite, folks. You are absolutely, completely infinite. So your understanding of your infinite nature is a life's work. It is what you are here to be and to do. This is the strongest, most powerful tool for growth and evolution. This is the tool that if you are feeling stuck, we're in February, right? All those intentions that folks set in January, how are they doing? Right? How's the energy in that doing? How's your focus and commitment in that doing? Affirmative prayer, the practice of it, is a way to activate that within yourself again and again and again. And in the process, you are changed. And that's why I think it's intimidating. Do you know, I used to be terrified of affirmative prayer. Really. The first time I had to pray aloud affirmatively, I was shaking. I was having like a total anxiety, panic attack. Because I had never prayed like that before. I had never stood in front of one person, mind you, just one other person, and said, I am divine. I had never stood in front of somebody and owned the power that I had to claim and be the architect of my own experience. This is a process of owning who you are, of having dominion. Life happens, folks. The bottoms drop out on us. That's life. That happens. But your prayer life, your affirmative prayer life, can change how you navigate the ground dropping out from underneath you. It will transform the way you approach and live into those highs and lows that are part of our human experience. The divinity that you are is calling you, truly, saying, live as me more fully. So are you willing to allow spiritual truth to transform your story? Because I know y'all got one, I have one. And when we engage in this practice, it is an opportunity again and again and again for us to transform our own story, to let go of what doesn't serve us, and to stand and own the truth of who we are and meet it with compassion. I mean, that's the underlying thing. We're meeting it with spiritual truth. We're meeting our small self with this large, expansive yumminess. You will be changed, but you'll be changed for the better. Isn't that from Wicked? You'll be changed for the better, right? Because I knew you, right? If you get to know you, really know you, who you truly are, the divinity that you are, you will be changed for the better. We are in our century of transformation. And I want to be real clear that that century of transformation was rooted and grounded and anchored in affirmative prayer. So if you want your century of transformation, your decade of transformation, your lifetime of transformation, I invite you to dance with this process. Come and check it out. Come and explore and play around with it. See how it can work for you. Because honestly, who you see before you today, whatever you may think of me, but who you see before you today is a direct result of my love and passion and commitment to the process of affirmative prayer. And I would love nothing more than to share that with each and every one of you, so that you too have that within you. That's the thing about this teaching. You can go and pray with a prayer chaplain. Go for it, right? After service, pray with a prayer chaplain. But ultimately, I don't want you to just get the fish. I want to teach you how to fish. Did I say that right? Okay. I don't want you to just have the fish. I want you to understand how to fish. I want you to know how to support your own growth, your own expansion. And believe me, it's truly, truly an incredibly powerful, powerful process. So let's take this into our time of meditation.